Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. Your main man, the Road Dog, here with you, along with my trusty little sidekick, the man himself, who really isn't that little, and truly is definitely anything but a sidekick, the king himself, Karl the Third.
There you go. The third. Road Dog. That started slow and then finished kind of fast there, Shoots. Well done, man. Give me compliments.
Well, you know what's funny? So I'm on the old Googles, and you always say, like, hey, just Google my name with, like, how to make $10 million. And I'm like, this guy is so full of himself. It's unbelievable. So, of course, what do I get? What's one of the first searches that comes up? Karl Bryan net worth. And I'm like, geez, do I need to actually, like, treat him with more respect? And I'm like, no. This is what our good mutual friend, Mr. Michael Hunt, and myself are here to ensure, that your head does not get big and that we keep you in line. So there you go.
Yeah, my wife's sister actually Googled my name not long ago, and she's like, do you realize when you Google your name, Karl Bryan net worth comes up? I'm like, yeah, okay. Anyways, there you go, Shoots. There you go. Exciting when Google is doing that kind of stuff. So
the Googles, they know what the people want. They know what the people want.
Yeah,
so,
you're right.
There you go. And the people want.
Let's rock, buddy. Let's rock. What do you got for me? Got some crazy questions lined up, or what's happening, man?
Speaking of money and money management, right? This is actually very appropriate because I'm sure you've got some experience with this. Besides paying for everything in gold bars, because the question here is, my client is asking if he should lease or buy his new car. So if I, Karl, don't have gold bars like yourself and pay everything in gold coins, should I lease or should I buy?
I could have let into a crypto answer when you bring up gold bars, by the way. So lease or buy a car. Textbook will tell you that if you have a profitable business, you should lease it. Simple reason that you can write off the monthly payments, right? In other words, minimize your tax position, right? So you're effectively driving a car for free with the money that you'd otherwise be paying the tax man. If you don't have a profitable company, you don't need the tax write-off. So hopefully that's a 101, a very black and white. You don't need tax write-off, so you just buy that. There are variables that play there, which would include like where you live. In other words, the tax laws, the amount that you pay for the car. Don't expect to go. So with that, don't expect to go buy a $100,000 car and think that you're going to write off the entire amount, right? Like, so basically, speak to your accountant. It should be a 10-minute conversation. And, if they have any brains at all, which may or may not be the case, right? They should be able to give you a very straightforward answer. But look, I'll tell you this, though. What does matter, let's say we all fast forward and we end up at the end of our life, right? Everybody touch wood. That would be a bad thing. But you will be disappointed with the amount of money that you have spent on vehicles, if you're the average, that is. But you look at the money you spend on vehicles, the interest that comes along with it. But think of the gas, the insurance, the tickets, the speeding tickets, the parking tickets, the snow tires, the summer tires, the tires, accidents, the amount that the amount that you will end up looking at, again, will be a disappointment. You will find that the allocation of that capital could have been much better spent. And again, if you spend $100,000 on a car, part of that is you got to understand it's not $100,000. It's, let's call it 150, because you pay tax on the money. If you pull $100,000 out of your company, you pay tax on the money as you earned it as a corporation. And then as you pull it out, it now lands in your personal bank account, which again gets taxed again, right? So when you think about $100,000 and spending it on a car, I really want you to start thinking of a number that looks a little bit more like 150. If you spent that money on a staff member or advertising or investing in your own business, might be a better idea. So that old saying, do you want to look rich or do you want to be rich comes to mind. Or I often in my emails, I say this all the time, but you can get lucky and make it, but you can't get lucky and keep it. Again, the guy buying I know a guy, he could be listening to this, by the way, remain anonymous, but like he doesn't own his own house and he rips around in $120,000 Audi. Just the level of, I don't know. Is it stupidity? Is it craziness? I don't know what it is, but I got to tell you that you can get lucky and make it. You can't get lucky and keep it. Screams to need to be said to that, right? So even another guy, actually, this is just recently, he's on Facebook. He's more of a Facebook bud, and I don't know him, but he's talking about how he doesn't like debt, and he bought his house with cash, right? Well, again, let's just assume it's $500,000. If he doesn't, and the guy will do that and then not stop and speak to their accountant. So he could be in for a very nasty surprise come tax time, if he's like the average. And there's ways to structure all of this, which I'm not going to get into. So that's not, this isn't black and white stuff. But the bottom line is that, what are you doing here? You're leasing or buying a car. If it depreciates, you lease it. If it appreciates, you buy it. Again, there's some black and white statements that are really quite gray. But you should, if you got a profitable business, you'd lease it. And if you have an unprofitable business, you probably just buy it outright. And don't go buy a stretch. Like, don't buy a $50,000, $75,000 car if you're not in a position to afford that kind of car. So, Road Dog, there's my answer, bud. What do you think, man? Lease it if you're profitable. Buy it if you're not profitable, as a little bit of a black and white roadmap to follow.
Speaking of black and white, this can go so many different ways. But I just have to say, so by the way, we were speaking of your friend and my friend Michael earlier, and he mentioned something about Winnipeg, the snow, and I replied to him and I said, "Did you not make it past the first round of auditions of becoming Carl's Cabana Boy?" And this is just this breaking news, folks. He says he got the final three, and Karl went with the gal from Nicaragua, who apparently can not only work the cabana area, but also knows how to cut KB's hair better than I can. So I had no idea that was breaking news, but I had to report it. So really, I'm disappointed that you went that route, but but it's all about the haircut.
And by the way, you say his name, Michael Hunt. I want everybody, if you guys have seen Porky's from back in the day, his name is Mike Hunt. And he'll tell you he's never got a speeding ticket in his life because he gets pulled over and says, "If I could prove my name was, would you let me drive off?" And they say, "Yep." And not to mention at a bar, it can be very entertaining. Very, very funny guy. Does some stand-up comedy. Love him. But yeah, there you go. Oh my God. Mike is a legend. The end.
So there you go. So anyways, I couldn't resist with the breaking news, but
Yeah.
Good for you. I'm happy that you now have a on-staff hair person. That is a relief for anyone that's been following you on social, by the way. Anyways, listen, but here's a question for you. After day 436 of flattening the curve, what have you learned, if anything, from this pandemic?
Oh, what have I learned from the pandemic?
Besides, you need to hire a hairdresser on staff.
Yeah, exactly. Which Hunsey's looked out. You and Hunsey have looked after that for me. I'm good. Flat look. What have we learned? I'm going to go a little bit against the grain here, but say it's a bit of a gift. I wrote something to this effect recently to the old BB. But, it's like Mother Nature is saying, slow down. We're optimizing for airports, travel, business, homes, promotion, cars, money, status. and we're subsequently, like we're missing the journey. It's like think of it as a reordering of the world's chaos. Like again, what's Mother Nature saying? Enjoy your home, enjoy your family, enjoy your neighbors. Certainly enjoy your kids, enjoy the beauty of your own backyard. Take your family camping rather than to Europe. Like think about this, right? Like if you go to Mexico, right? And let's assume you live in North America, or you live in North America, you decide you're going to go to Mexico. Look, it's a full day. Like from where I live, it's I think a 5-hour flight to Mexico. And I love Mexico, by the way. I love Mexicans. I love Mexico. I love everything about Mexico. It's my personal favorite place to go. We do a business coaching mastery every year. And again, we do it in Cancun, Mexico, because again, I love the place. But I want you to think about this, right? Like if you take your family away on a trip to get to Mexico, it's a day of travel there. It's a day of travel home, right? Because you got to be there 2 hours early. You got to get to the airport, or you have to stand in bloody line. So if you have a 7-day trip, and most people don't take 5-day trips, by the way, but let's assume you take a 7-day trip, you lose 2 days. Okay. So again, go to the math of that. 30 of your trip is lit on fire to travel of a 7-day trip. I don't know. If you could go camping and jump in the RV, and drive an hour and then drive an hour home, you'd get an extra, 2 days of travel. Or what about somebody who goes to, like, let's say you live in North America and then you go to Europe, right? You go to Italy, you go to London, somewhere, super cool like that. And I think everybody should experience some international travel. I was lucky enough, like I lived overseas as a young guy, and I did my traveling, and I still do, by the way. But, you're not just losing a day. Now you got to factor jet lag into it, right? So again, you could debatably lose 3 to 4 days on the same trip, right? So I don't know. And it's okay once in a while, but I think Mother Nature's trying to say, work and factor this into your travel plans a little bit. I could go into the carbon footprint, yeti. I think a little bit of a gift, right? Controversial. And, you read my emails, I probably take a bit of a different trek generally. But there you go. Learning, also, I think just do your own freaking homework, right? The media have seemed to be just liars. You know what I mean? I don't know. Are they anything but liars at this point, right? It's not that they're liars, just that they've got self-interest at heart. And by the way, so do your own friends on Facebook, right? So the guy that's the anti-vaxxer and the guy that's against masks, look, they're not right. They're not wrong. It's so gray. It's unbelievable. But what you got to do is do your own homework, form your own opinion. And if you're 100% against the vaccine and you're 100% against masks, God bless you. Go for it, right? But just don't just listen to somebody who has influence over you. Who normally is the person you don't have access to, right? Through a bit of a scarcity kind of mindset and whatnot. So you believe them a little bit more than you do the average bear. Like, don't just follow them blindly. Certainly don't listen to what I say and follow me blindly. I would never advise that for anybody, right? Do your own homework, make your own decisions. And by the way, the same decision, like Road Dogg, you and I could get the exact same information, right? For the exact same situation. And you could form a different opinion, and I could form I form my opinion, you form your opinion with the same issues, the same data, the same everything. We come to different conclusions, and you could be right for you and your family, and I could be right for me and mine, right? I just do your own homework, right? Like, certainly don't let CNN, and then don't let Fox, don't let, the news, do your homework for you. I would also say the pandemic, you always hear this in a crisis, right? 3 words: cash is king, right? I always say, like, my journey into accounting and small business finance, and really trying to learn that at a level that I think is, high, and that I can pass it on to others in like layman's terms, like the business coaching community. Profit is theory, cash is fact, right? Think about that. Profit is a theory for a bunch of different reasons. But when I say that, I want you to think accounts receivable is money owed to you, right? And appears to be profit. Well, what if you don't receive the money that lies in accounts receivable on a balance sheet? You don't get it. Therefore, it is a theory, and you're probably going to get it. You hope you get it. You hope you have the processes in place. But until that cash hits your bank account, you don't know. So bottom line, cash is king, right? What did the U.S. government just do? Literally printed trillions of dollars of what? Cash. Why? Because the world needed it, right? It's just the game of Monopoly. I love the game of Monopoly. Everybody should play it. I think it's great. Get the dust off it, and you probably have one at home in the cupboard. Pull it out. There's one way to lose Monopoly, and only one way, and that's to run out of cash, right? Well, it's the same way in business. How do you go out of business? You run out of cash. So I think, again, cash is king, and the government, again, printing trillions of dollars. What else would I say? Learning during the pandemic. Like, I'll tell you this, I think it's the crisis of the 10 years. There's a crisis every 10 years. There was Black Friday. I remember how that affected my dad. Still talks about it to this day. There was the dot-com bust, right, in 2000 roughly. There was 9/11, which was absolute, brutal. This pandemic, right? So it's like, expect there to be a crisis every 10 years. And by the way, in your own life, I want you to think about this, like for you, because again, what are we doing this all for? Make sure we're optimizing for what we want to be optimizing, which should be a great life by your standards, not by mine, not by Road Dogs, not by Tony Robbins, by you, by yours, right? Your standards. So if you think about strategically your life, like in your 20s, you had a bit of a crisis, and it was the girlfriend or it was the boyfriend. And it probably had, something in and around university and getting in and not getting in, and your friends getting into universities and you not getting your degree, or getting your degree from the wrong university or in the wrong, you got the wrong degree, right? Like you did, you were doing, you know what I mean? Like, what do I want to say? The general arts, is that what we call it? Like just one of those plain Jane degrees, and you're like, oh my goodness, I probably should have got into nursing. Should have become a doctor. I should have become a dentist. I should have studied commerce. I should have got into business, right? Like a little bit of a crisis, right? And it's too late. You're already 3 years into the freaking degree. What do? You change? There's a crisis at that time, right? 30s, it becomes, find the wife, find the husband, probably the arrival of a child, maybe, right? And the lack of sleep that goes with it. And then the battle of that, and then trying to build your career. There's your crisis in your 30s. In your 40s, maybe managing your weight and your career, right? I don't know, your 50s, I'm not there yet. I'll be there soon. You gotta, it's going to be like, I don't know, health, right? 60s, you can't touch your freaking toes, right? I can imagine. I know my dad, like his flexibility, I'm always telling him, right? Dad, your dexterity, man, we got to work on this. You got to freaking, get up and swing your arms around and swing your legs around, etc. Right? Stop watching Seinfeld on the couch. But again, that, you're not touching your toes. 70s, I think maybe, your own demise kind of, every time you look in the mirror, you all of a sudden think, where am I at? How much longer do I have? I don't know. Right. So, bottom line, the view of the entire playing field, paints a pretty obvious picture. And that's just every 10 years, there is a crisis. There is a crisis coming into your life. Like literally over the weekend, what I was doing is like, I was studying cancer. I read a ton up about it. And I'm like, I don't have cancer. I certainly hope I don't have cancer. I hope I don't get it anytime soon. But I'm like, if I was diagnosed with cancer, what would I do? And I'm like, pretty much anything. And I'm like, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it now, and I'm going to do it before I get it, right? So again, if you're listening to this, it might not be a bad idea. Like when you think about your business, if you were able to tack on an extra 10 years of functional business life, that'd be a pretty, there's a lot of income to be earned in those 10 years. Well, rather than running and, stressing and everything you got to do to, build and run a business, make sure you take some time out to, look back. I don't know, like you look after your health. It's a 101, right? As my dad say, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything, right? Which I think is a little bit harsh and a little bit dramatic, but strictly speaking, I don't know. Over the weekend, this is what I was doing, right? What are you guys doing? You know what? A gift that I was given, speaking of crises, which again, I look back, was it a gift? I don't know. But my big brother died when I was 16, right? I would do anything to go back and change it. To go golfing with him for a day, certainly he's a world-class skier, to go skiing with him. I would do anything, but I can't. The end, right? So I got one option and one option only, and that's to, kind of live for two, which is what I try to do. But knowing I'm just never going to be the guy. If, like, my close friends, right? They will tell you that I think they will describe me something along the lines of the guy who's never going to die wondering, right? Like I get in a plane, I jump out of it, right? I stand on the top of a rock, I jumped off of it into the ocean. Bungee jumping, done it. I've ticked all those boxes. So I don't know. That's, and at a young age, again, I was 20 years old when I took off and I went to go live overseas. Why? I don't know. I knew that going to live overseas at 20 was probably going to have advantages over going to live overseas when I was 30, right? Which, by the way, is debatable for an individual, but that's what I saw. So, I don't know. Looking back, I think that you've got some crises coming. I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, Road Dog, this is a crisis, and I think that we got to look at, where's the opportunity? Like, crises build and breed leaders, right? So and I guarantee, look in your own family, right? Like, who is running the show? Who's making decisions? And let me tell you, the right person to make decisions is not the emotional guy, the emotional gal watching the news, watching CNN, watching Fox, hanging out on Facebook, deciding how they feel given what, the video that they watched, right? Whether it was the hospital or the concert with 20,000 people, right? It's just, and the emotional one is always the loudest, by the way. And I would dare say often the weakest. That's not a black and white statement, but it could be that way. But leaders are emerging. And my question is that you, right? And then how, make sure that look, how do you become a leader during these times? You become the voice of reason, right? If you're going to go and make dramatic, points and whatnot, back it up, and not with what Fox and CNN said. Go do your own homework, right? And become a leader. And I'm talking, again, this is for business coaches. Let's go become leaders for the local community, right? So, and I would just, who are the leaders' mental models, right? Like, again, not floating through Facebook, but Road Dog, we've covered this tons of time in the past. Your leaders are the ones that are thinking methodically. Not, you can tell by the wording in the Facebook posts and the videos and whatnot. Those are your leaders. People encouraging you to go do your own homework. I think that's a leader. Telling you that you shouldn't wear a mask and that it's a clown game. I don't know. I don't think that's the right approach, because for some, what I mean? This is a very strange time. The end. Hopefully you get that. Use mental models. That's all I can. And if you don't understand that, go back and listen to what we talked about it in the past. Go study Charlie Munger, and he'll tell you all you'll ever need to know about mental models about 1,000,000 times better than I ever could. What else? Look, virtual working. Look, we're going to come back to office type environments, but it's real. I can say we're at the point of no return, where there is some permanent adjustments in the way we do business and the way we operate from a virtual standpoint. I want to give you an example. Think of your local football team. Think of the hockey team, right? So no, they can't. You can't do football practice on Zoom. It's not going to happen. But there is a percentage of, laying out plays and different formations and studying the other team that can be done via Zoom online, and debatably much better, by the way. So I want you to think of that as a framework to go forward. There's a dynamic that happens when people are in the same room, ideas, have sex with one another, and they become significantly more impressive. And it just happens better in a real, just think of building a relationship, right? You're going to find your wife or your husband on Zoom? No, but you could use a dating app to go and meet people, and then go, what do you do? Like you audit the list, whatever. Oh my God, whatever. Like there's 10 people, and it's like, I'm going to go meet these 3, right? Given our exchanges, this, that, and the other. So expect business to go along, that way. And the good news there, again, Mother Nature, et cetera, is that the guy playing football, the guy playing professional soccer, the guy playing professional hockey is going to be able to start doing 20% of his job at home with his family in front of his computer, and then 80%, bumping and doing their thing on the football field. And this is going to provide a better lifestyle for the individual, right? So I think that's it, Road Dog. And maybe just last, like everything that you thought was happening just accelerated 5 to 10 years with this virtual world. Like, again, just look at Amazon, how much more, I bet you have bought more on Amazon in the last 12 months than you bought in the last 3 to 4 years on Amazon, right? Or things like online grocery shopping. Again, something that's never really cottoned on that much, but is suddenly, becoming semi-norm, and definitely for those that don't get out as well, the elderly population. So, that's just becoming more and more normal. And the middleman getting cut out, right? Remember, the internet is the middleman. So when you think of doing business in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, et cetera, the wholesaler, the middleman, the internet is becoming the middleman to a large degree. Think about it that way. That's all been accelerated. So, Road Dog, that's what I'd say. But, what have I learned from the pandemic is just there's opportunities, bud, and you got to go get yours. That's what I say.
Okay, before I go down the dark hole, like it's Pandora's box of of rabbit holes. Couple things I picked up from what you said. First,
yep.
When you say this is a strange time, it's like that's a revolving statement that goes through my head every time I go out with you.
Yep.
It's because whenever I go out with you, like for beers, it's always a strange time because it's just Karl Bryan.
We have fun, bud. We have fun.
Listen, you mentioned Monopoly, right? So
yep.
Here's the $1 million question. Park Place or the railroads? Like, what's your strategy here, bud? Like,
Boardwalk, baby. Boardwalk and Park Place. My favorite.
Is that a real? I thought it was buying the utilities. I thought that was the safe move. Have I been doing this all wrong?
That's a good. You know what? This is a very good point, Shoots. That's a good. Damn, we might need to sit down and play some Monopoly. You might kick my butt. There you go. As I chase Boardwalk.
We probably both need to learn a thing or two before so we stop losing to our daughters. I think that's probably a safe.
No doubt, man.
Okay, now speaking of opportunities, obviously you mentioned it. I want to go with just to give you my quick example. I literally just got an email from my pool guy. They're not doing openings or closings of pools anymore because they're booked out through 2022 for building new pools, if you can believe it. So it's insane, the opportunity, right? Like that hot tub sale, all these things. So what? Aside from that, because those are unbelievable right now, what other opportunity are you seeing right now, and kind of given where we're at?
Yeah, given the state of the world, what would I say? So, well, look, 30% of the United States dollars ever printed have been printed in the last 12 months, right? Think about that for 2 seconds. Pretty wild, and some interesting. Again, you talk about crazy times, Road Dog. Some crazy times coming, right? I just tell you, there's never been a time like this to start or help a business. That's just fact. But you got to use your mental models, and you need to be. You can't just be, flipping through Facebook and going, oh, I'm going to start this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to help this, I'm going to do that. You know what I mean? You need to be digesting all this stuff. And Road Dog, what you just said a minute ago, this is a revolving. This isn't like, if you listen to what I'm sure you could go back and listen to what I said 12 months ago and then 6 months ago and what I'm saying today, and there'll be some alterations. And I make zero apologies about that. That's the problem with politics, right? Is that somebody says something in 1980 and then in 2021, they're using it as a soundbite to hold against them, right? So you can't change your bloody mind. It's insanity, right? So again, mental model, you got to be fluid with your thinking always. That being said, I think pretty comfortably, I think you'll find that I'm consistent. But I'll tell you this, I'm consistent I try to be consistent, not with my thoughts, but the processes that get me there, right? Like trends in business, etc. So, I'll just say this, opportunities, if the metaphor I always use, I go surfing. What do I need? I need the same thing. Kelly Slater and I need the same thing, and that is a wave, right? So, you be careful not to be that guy in the hurricane grabbing onto the tree, as I've talked about, right? So, maybe what I'll do, what tech was supposed to be the next big thing and then not, right? Like virtual reality, wouldn't you have thought that would have caught on by now? I don't know. It's gotten basically borderline nowhere, right? That's an exaggeration. It's not nowhere, but it is not mainstream in any way, shape, or form. Without a massive adjustment, I don't see it getting very far, right? 3D printing. Again, I remember seeing that and thinking, my goodness, wow, right? Like this is going to be a game changer. You know what? I just think that China builds things so well and so inexpensively, and it becomes so efficient that they're kind of like a 3D printer if you kind of really think about it. The Internet of Things, I don't know, like pretty silly idea maybe when you really go back, think about it and look at it, but getting nowhere. Tech wearables. Again, look, the iWatch. Are you wearing an iWatch, Road Dog? Am I? Like I got one. I thought, you know what? I wore it and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Like it might go get an Aura ring or something like that, but I have no technology on me, right? And I'm happy with that. And I think others are the same. Are people going to be wearing tech in the future? I don't know. I think I watched Back to the Future not long ago, and he's running around. He had this really weird looking kind of semi-tech wearable jacket, Michael J. Fox, right? But bottom line is that hasn't. So I think, and by the way, speaking like iWatch, speaking of Apple failures, right? Like Apple Pay, again, didn't get anywhere. So I think that it's powerful. And is Apple Pay going to get somewhere? I don't know, but I can tell you it has not universally adopted in any way, shape, or form. So just blindly going, oh, virtual reality is going to be the next big thing. Zuckerberg says so, and not adjusting and, using fluid thinking. Not a good idea. And you remember the ultimate competitive advantage in sport, in politics, definitely in business and wealth and marketing and everything is the view that viewing the entire playing field, right? That's Tom Brady is Tom Brady, Wayne Gretzky was Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan was Michael Jordan, because they saw the entire playing field better than the others. Wayne Gretzky was famous for saying, I go to where I pass the puck and I go to where the puck's going, not where it's at. And he guessed wrong all the time and was out of the play. But, he's the greatest goal scorer and greatest point getter by a long way the NHL has ever seen. So, I just think that when you see, so look at the entire playing field, and then I just listed a few failures, but don't just look at them and go, okay, well, virtual reality is never going to work. You got to think through it, right? And again, thinking of trends, you're looking for trends and then weighing them up. Like Google is Google because they caught a wave, right? Like I said, Kelly Slater, me, we're going to go surfing. We both need a wave. Google is, you don't become a $1 trillion company because you hired a really smart few guys or you're really smart dudes from Harvard that start a company. Again, Facebook is Facebook because of a wave. Apple is Apple because of a wave, right? So that's, where do you see some waves, right? And by the way, if you want to ask me, okay, so if that's where the question is going, where are, the current quote unquote waves? Where are the trends? What do, frankly, I see? And not so much what I think, but literally what is happening. Road Dog, you just hit it. Money that is getting spent around the home right now, pools, jacuzzis, all that stuff. In fact, on this podcast, I believe it was March last year when the pandemic hit, Road Dog, we were talking, I said prefab backyard offices. That is a business that I would go into yesterday, right? So again, and if you listen to this podcast and you took my advice and you own the next great backyard office building, buy me a beer when we meet each other. But I literally said that. I saw it from 100 miles away, right? And by the way, I could have been wrong, right? But maybe the pandemic was really going to be short-lived and yada, yada, yada. But I saw that one, went smell you later. But think of in the home, garage renovations, think of them being turned into man caves, offices. Think of extensions, think of kitchens, bathrooms, backyard improvements. In fact, I literally made a few calls yesterday about my backyard and, doing some funky stuff back there. All kinds of renovations. Peloton fall into that. Peloton, by the way, is going to get bought by Apple, my personal opinion. In fact, it's just if you ask me why, it's a little bit of a natural, but Peloton fall into that. People are spending big money and they're canceling the gym membership and doing this stuff at home, right? And then not just in the home, but around the home. So think RVs, think boats, think skis, water skis, downhill skis, bikes, quads, all this stuff. Like you go try buy a bike, Road Dog, in Kelowna, and like the pool, you literally cannot get your hands on one. Basically, they're selling like hotcakes, right? And again, the pandemic is the reason. So again, if I'm a business coach, this is data that I want to know. I want to be going to clients and helping people start businesses, build businesses, buy businesses maybe, right? Like there's a bunch of, as a business coach, you should know the money that's getting spent in and around the home, right? Another trend, like virtual work opportunity on freaking steroids, talked about it a little bit before, but like the freeway created suburbs, right? The same way like virtual business is changing things right now, right? So not everything's going to go virtual. We talked about it with the football team, but I got to tell you that Zoom has changed things, and office real estate is going to come available big time. But it's not that it's going away. So what I'm not saying is, hey, nobody's ever going to go and work in an office again, because that is not true. And I also believe that people have very short memories. And once we can get in there, we're going to want to get in there. The companies, they have 5-year leases, right? They can't just turn this stuff off, right? But I will tell you that a lot of commercial real estate downtown is going to become residential. And also they're going to become like co-working spaces, right? Like a model like WeWork, that's kind of when it went to the moon and then it come crashing down due to a bit of a rogue CEO, yada. But basically a model like WeWork, and there'll be competitors that will pop up. I think Airbnb will also become a big player in that WeWork space and become a real competitor to WeWork. They'll probably complement one another and help one another grow. But that is, look, real estate downtown, absolutely. There's going to be a shift, right? Here's a big trend. This is the space that I currently operate in, and there's a chance that if you're listening to this, you do too. But that's like the opportunities in online education. They're immeasurable, right? The university, we've talked about this multiple times throughout the year, but the university and college as you know it is gone. And by the way, most big universities are really hedge funds. You probably didn't realize that. Do your homework, check it out. You tell me, but that's what they are. COVID's got 2 billion people learning remotely, and they are going to stay there. And then another edge, like those universities were propped up by the football team, all the college sports, the basketball and the football team, and maybe the hockey team, et cetera. Those things are going away. That's again a bit of a trend. So when there's no longer a football team, the university is not online education, huge shift, do your homework. That is happening, and I can say that's pretty black and white. And I was a business coach. I'd want to know that. Crypto, again, controversial I don't know if it's controversial, but it's that slippery slope, right? Like down a water slide here. I don't pretend to be, the expert on this subject, but I can safely say that I know more than most, and I've watched it pretty closely. And I've spent my time, I study, business, marketing, wealth, and crypto is something that I'm looking at big time. Like it's the big picture. It's a wild bull. Every generation has their gold rush, like the personal computer, the internet, the smartphone, social media. And I really think this might be it for the teeny boppers, or I'd say there's a good chance. It's a $2 trillion asset, probably grow to be a $200 trillion asset. The wheels could completely fall off, by the way. But what's driving crypto? Look, two things. Trust. Like, do you trust the government? Do I trust the government? Does Road Dog trust the government, right? You interview people, like, again, the young, the old, the folks in the middle, the upper class, the middle class, the lower class. Nobody really trusts them, right? And for good bloody reason. It's crazy. Most archaic system ever. And again, 30% of the USD has been printed over the last 12 months, right? Like, are you bloody kidding me? So anyway, so trust, okay? So if you feel like, so crypto, if you understand blockchain, we've talked about that. Blockchain just makes everything transparent. Think of it like that. It's like a Google Doc. Think of a spreadsheet and then think of a Google Doc, right? So blockchain is like a Google Doc that everybody can see what's going on. You get access to it. Everybody can get access to it. There it is. So there's that, that trust factor when you can You know what I mean? When you feel like you have a little bit of control and the government isn't just going to press a button. Like, did you have any say on whether the government printed, trillions of dollars? Like, how does that get paid back? I'll give you the red hot tip. It's you. It's taxes. That's how we pay it back, right? Okay. Trust. Okay. The other thing driving crypto is scarcity. Like, that's it, right? Like, there's only, like, as an example, let's go Bitcoin, which is only one type. There's crypto is there's lots to it, right? Bitcoin is the most popular, and there's only 21 million, I was going to say printed, but they don't print them, right? There's only 20 million available. So there's scarcity there, the end, right? So owning something scarce makes someone look and feel important and successful, right? Like, when you roll up to a restaurant in a Ferrari, people are generally watching and notice if they see the Ferrari and you getting out, the end, right? The same when a guy rolls up to that same restaurant with a beautiful woman, right? Beautiful women are scarce. Scarcity also stimulates a little bit of obsession. You tell me if there's a little bit of an obsession. Just go flip through your Facebook feed right now and tell me if there's a little bit of an obsession going on, right? Like, I got a guy right now, he's chasing me around the internet, and he's like messaged me, like, I swear 12 times on different platforms, and he's kind of begging me to help him, yada, yada, yada. He wants to get this business coaching business up off the ground. And it's weird, right? Like, and I'm not available to him. So again, I can see this weird dynamic, right? So it's just, look, forget me, forget that, forget this guy, weirdo, chasing me around. It's like, when genuine scarcity is there, genuine, right? You'll see this kind of thing happening for yourself, right? So if you're not using scarcity with your business coaching, a little bit of a left turn here, you're missing out. The 5 best all-time McDonald's offers, I've written about that in my emails. Again, you could go, Road Dog, Google me, right? But Karl Bryan, greatest all-time McDonald's offers, you're going to see the 5 greatest all-time offers, and they only have one thing in common, all of them. Scarcity, right? The end. So if you're not using scarcity with your coaching, again, I've covered that many a times in different podcasts, you're missing out, right? But bottom line, crypto, it's a huge opportunity. It may or may not go to the moon. I ain't the guy to answer that, nor is anybody who tells you they know the answer to that. Be very, very cautious, because they don't, I don't, Warren Buffett don't know, Ray Dalio don't know. So, with caution, but that being said, do you want to miss out on the gold rush, so to speak? But with that being said, something I've said previously, and I've written it in my emails, if crypto is at whatever it's at, let's just say it's at $50,000 for a nice, easy number, it's got to hit 100,000 for you to double your money, right? Well, like, if you hire somebody and pay them 50 and they return you 100, or you hire somebody and pay them 60 and they return 120, look, you've got control over that. And again, capitalize control, bold it, italicize it, underline it, right? So really, when you're thinking about crypto, I don't want you to think of it as an investment. I want you to see it as a utility, right? The more utility it has, the more opportunity for you and those that invest, etc., right? So example, creating your own coin would be an example, a very dramatic, and most of you aren't going to be able to do that, but maybe your client could. Maybe there's going to be mechanisms. Is there a mechanism out there? And there are, that allow you to go and create your own coin right now, right? So, accepting with your business coaching, if you start accepting crypto, it becomes a utility to you, right? So can't forget his name, Elon Musk. How could I forget his name? Anyways, right? The alien trying to find his way home. He just said recently, you can buy a Tesla using crypto, right? So again, that's an example. And as it becomes more normal and you can use it as cash and buy things and sell things, etc., bit of a game changer. So that would be the prime. Maybe look, the last, maybe not so much last, because again, this is fluid. There's lots that I'm forgetting, and other people much smarter than me could tell you. But like online sales, if it wasn't already the norm, talked about it a little bit before, but like it is at, like, Amazon has grown like crazy during this pandemic, whereas the local retailer's been punched firmly in the mouth. rise up 30,000 feet, use a mental model, think that through, and tell me the pandemic's going to leave. Do you see, like, are you going to go open a local retail shop and try sell things, only there, right? Like, what you got to do is you need to have a hybrid of the retail store and then the online store. And the retail store is designed, this is Apple 101, right? But like the retail store is designed to build your brand, right? That's what the Apple store does. It builds its brand during the purchase. So anyways, thinking about that, look, there are lots more other ops. Like I said, people much smarter than me could outline them for you. But I'll just tell you this, 10% of, the population are financially free, let's say in the Western world. Well, 10% to pay attention to trends, opportunities, asking these kinds of questions, listening to these kinds of podcasts, looking for this kind of, info out there. I just say as a business coach, you got to pay attention. I think your job is to elevate yourself. It's to elevate the local business community, and it's definitely to elevate your high-end coaching clients and those that are paying your fees, right? So look at it that way. I love it, Road Dog. That's what do you think, Bud? That's what I'd say, man. I think I rattled off a few. I don't know how many, but that's what I'd say, Bud. Those are the opportunities. What do you reckon?
Would you say, like, because I'm going to close out with asking the one thing. Is that it? Like, just paying attention? Like, what would you say is the one thing from today's episode that one?
Yeah, I think we talked. Look, don't go to Facebook. Flip through your feed, read something, accept it as truth, and then keep moving. I think that you'll find that is a lot of folks. That's what I think. That's the quote unquote mental model they're kind of operating on, right? And the more influence that this person has, in other words, the more scarce and the less access you have to them, I think that you take what they say as more valid. I give it more validation, and that is an error. So yeah, I think this pandemic is changing things. Like I said, maybe that's the gift. Maybe I said the gift that it is busyness and everything else. Maybe the gift, for you and me and everybody, listening, is that it's allowing us to think at a higher level, right? Like to channel our inner Charlie Munger, right? Which would be a very good idea for all of us. And what is that? Critical, not thinking, critical thinking, right? And that doesn't mean that you just say no to everything. In fact, again, here's something. I had a conversation with a very successful friend of mine just over the last few days. And I'm just like, here it is, man. Success is no, growth is yes. Do you want a big company or do you want a successful company? Right? Again, do you want to be rich for a week or do you want to be rich for a lifetime? I just said, look, I'd be careful with some of those other opportunities. It's like, and again, example, like blockchain. It's sexy as hell. Crypto. It's sexy as hell. Are you going to go and, put all your eggs in the blockchain and crypto? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, if I don't know, go do your, you know what I mean? Think about it very critically and then make your decision from there. And I would definitely say something like a hybrid in the, like end decision. And once you see a little bit more proof, Road Dog, it's critical thinking, right? It's critical thinking. And to be clear, as I just said, that I believe blockchain is a game changer by a lot. But again, don't listen to me. I might not know what I'm talking about. Go do your own homework. Maybe it's going to become maybe blockchain is going to become like virtual reality. And in 5 years, we'll be thinking like, how did that not take off? And maybe it's going to be the opposite, right? But I don't know. Don't just listen to me. Don't just listen to the influencers on your Facebook feed. Use some critical thinking. Maybe that's the gift, Road Dog, that it's bringing everybody, right? You believe the government? Like, are you really going to believe the government? Like, what did I say in a email recently that, I can't remember, something like a pack of animals. The one thing they'd never do is make the stupidest the leader, right? And you tell me if there are some folks in power and very high levels of power right now that we would maybe put in the basket of, the stupidest amongst us versus the smartest amongst us, right? So yeah, Road Dog, I'm going to make critical thinking mental models, and I think we've done that before, but it can never be done enough, as the one thing today to take away. What do you think, Bud?
Beautiful. And we'll leave it at that. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in to another great episode of Business Coaching Secrets with the man on top of the money hill, your very own Scrooge McDuck, Karl Bryan. You're not on the inside and getting access to the brief show, or you aren't getting Karl's daily emails, just want more information on how to build your own pile of money, or pardon me, coaching company, visit focus.com and subscribe today. And if you enjoyed it, again, please share with a fellow coach or someone that you think might make a great coach. And of course, as always, we do truly, honestly appreciate if you would rate this episode. And as we know that iTunes, Spotify, and all of those streaming services have a heavy, heavy, heavy amount of weight towards reviews. So please leave a review if you like what you heard. And that is it for another week. Remember, everybody, progress equals happiness.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.